Continuing from the previous episode 617. Chapter 1546. Kai Lin exiting her retreat. The enormous 9-colored light pillar pierced the sky. Its beautiful luster caused the land to appear a lot livelier. This sudden unexpected change caused many to feel shocked and stunned. Clearly, they did not understand where the 9-colored light pillar originated from. This kind of pressure. Yao Ming and the other elders from the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe stared at the light pillar with shocked and uncertain eyes. They were able to detect a pressure that originated from within both their bloodlines and souls. Bang! Huang Tian's enormous demon phoenix body was unable to stop in time. It violently collided with the light pillar in front of countless pairs of startled eyes. A loud earth-shaking sound abruptly reverberated across the sky. The sky and land seemed to tremble because of this fierce collision. Crack, crack! After Huang Tian's full-force collision, the 9-colored light pillar cracked. A huge crack line formed as though it was possible to break a light pillar. The surface of the light pillar blasted apart, and a 10,000-foot-long 9-colored snake tail suddenly erupted from the light pillar. It was swung and firmly wrapped around Huang Tian's body. The light pillar collapsed and a huge 9-colored python that was even larger than Huang Tian glaringly appeared in front of many pairs of eyes. Hiss! The inhalation of cold air immediately sounded one after another as everyone looked at the huge 9-colored python, which filled the sky. Shock surged into the many pairs of eyes present. This is 7-colored heaven swallowing python. Those elders from the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe revealed stunned eyes as they stared at the brilliant python. The large python's body radiated with 9 colors. It was colorful and extremely beautiful. Those human-sized scales contained a gorgeous luster as they covered that enormous body. The body of the snake slowly wiggled. It vaguely emitted an overwhelming feeling that seemed to be able to easily shatter a mountain range. This feeling shook one's heart. It is not a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. It is the legendary 9-colored heaven-swallowing python. A great wave seemed to have stirred in Yao Ming's heart at this moment. The 9-colored heaven-swallowing python was a divine creature that seemed only exist in the ancient folktales. From a certain point of view, such an existence was even stronger than the ancestor of the snake-type magical beast, the ancient heaven python. Due to them being few in numbers, the reputation of the 9-colored heaven-swallowing python was far inferior to the ancient heaven python. However, being the tribal chief of the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe, Yao Ming naturally understood the strength of this 9-colored heaven-swallowing python. Even during ancient times, the 9-colored heaven-swallowing python had hardly ever appeared. Moreover, each time it did, it would stir shock within the snake tribe. Yao Ming had never imagined that he would actually be able to personally see this divine beast, which only existed in the legends. The current 9 serene deep-ground python tribe was the tribe with the closest bloodline to the ancient heaven python among the snake tribes, but this pride was not even worth mentioning in front of a 9-colored heaven-swallowing python because the bloodline of the 9-colored heaven-swallowing python was a little stronger than the ancient heaven python from a certain point of view. The pressure from his bloodline originated from this. Kai Lin actually possesses such an identity. No wonder Xiao Yan allowed her to train in the 9 serene spring. At this moment, Yao Ming finally understood why Xiao Yan had allowed Kai Lin to train inside the spring, which even he could not stay in for long. A 9-colored heaven-swallowing python? How is this possible? How can there be any 9-colored heaven-swallowing python remaining on the continent? Huang Tian's huge body was firmly restrained. He looked at the 9-colored python in front of him, which was staring at him with icy cold snake eyes and extending its snake tongue. A shocked expression surged within his eyes as he involuntarily cried out in disbelief. The huge python in front of him was an existence comparable to the heaven phoenix. Why did it still exist in this world? The snake eyes of the huge 9-colored python remained icy even as Huang Tian roared in disbelief. The huge snake tail that had been firmly wrapped around his body gradually constricted tighter. That terrifying squeezing force broke the metallic feathers on Huang Tian's body. The bones in his body continuously emitted a strange creaking sound. Even the space itself had become a little distorted. Damn it! A shock and fury flashed through Huang Tian's huge eyes as he sensed the powerful pressure that contorted his body. He let out a sharp cry toward the sky as a bright golden light shot out of his body in all directions. Under the golden light, the feathers on Huang Tian's body suddenly stood up. They were like sharp blades as they wildly hacked at the huge nine-colored python's body. Sparks started to rain down like a firestorm. Hiss hiss. The eyes of the nine-colored huge python gained a colder glint as Huang Tian struggled to retaliate. He saw the snake head sway and dozens of seven-colored snake scales suddenly fell. These scales shook and changed into dozens of enormous seven-colored heaven-swallowing pythons in front of many shocked eyes. After which, the snake tails entangled with each other like a snake web. Finally, dozens of seven-colored heaven-swallowing python cried out toward the sky. The snake web subsequently shrunk at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang bang bang. The rate at which the snake net shrunk was frightening. A squeezing force, which could not be described, was formed by the net made out of snakes. Even space itself collapsed. Hiss hiss. Huang Tian was at the middle of the frightening squeezing force. He involuntarily felt some panic and fear despite his strength. Even he would likely be seriously injured if he were struck by that net. A desire to withdraw immediately rose in his heart. His enormous body strangely shook as he forcefully freed himself slightly from the nine-colored heaven-swallowing python. Soon after, his huge body quickly shrank and transformed into a human figure in front of many pairs of eyes. The wings on Huang Tian's back were flapped after he returned to his human form. Wind blew and thunder reverberated as his body penetrated space and hurriedly rushed out of the snake web. Bang! Huang Tian was extremely fast and ferocious. Both of his wings were flapped and he narrowly fled through a gap in the snake net. Just as he thought that he had escaped, an enormous shadow suddenly descended from the sky. A bright and colorful snake tail ruthlessly smashed into his body. The powerful air explosion smashed into the ground 100,000 feet below, forming a 10,000-foot wide pit. Huang Tian immediately spat out a mouthful of fresh blood after being firmly struck by this snake tail. The frightening strength shook him until his internal organs shifted. His body was just like a cannonball as it flew away. Finally, he violently shattered a mountain in front of many stunned eyes. After which, he rubbed across the ground and formed a 10,000-foot deep gully before he came to a slow halt. Many pairs of eyes looked at the gully, which stretched into the horizon. Their throat involuntarily quivered. Their eyes had gained an additional fear when they looked at the nine-colored heaven-swallowing python in the sky again. Even an ordinary elite Do Sheng would likely be turned into a bloody fog from this tail strike. Gulp. The bodies of those experts from the Heaven Demon Chinix tribe stiffened at this moment. Their expressions were stunned. None of them dared to move forward to rescue Huang Tian because of the incomparably intense pressure radiating from the sky. While the entire sky seemed to have fallen into silence, the enormous nine-colored heaven-swallowing python in the sky slowly began to curl up its huge body. Then, a colorful and brilliant luster surged from its body before the heaven-swallowing python's large body began to shrink. Finally, it turned into a beautiful figure with enchanting curves in front of many startled eyes. The luster in the sky gradually scattered. That enchanting figure appeared in the eyes of many figure. Cold, enchanting, and capable of bringing disaster to a country. The hearts of many pounded at a faster rate once they saw this bewitching appearance mixed with an iciness. Such a person could be described as the ultimate temptation. The bewitching figure revealed herself in the sky. Her hand pointed at the dozens of seven-colored heaven-swallowing python in the sky and beckoned. The snakes whistled down before turning into many seven-colored lights that rushed into her body. Those are actually spiritual bodies of seven-colored heaven-swallowing pythons? Only after she began collecting those seven-colored heaven-swallowing python did Yao Ming and the others shockingly discover that these heaven-swallowing pythons were not made of energy. Instead, they were true heaven-swallowing python souls. Dozens of seven-colored heaven-swallowing python souls. Even Yao Ming's head became a little giddy after realizing what they were. The remaining elders from the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe all revealed dull gazes, appearing just like fools. How could so many of these extremely rare seven-colored heaven-swallowing pythons appear at once? The beauty in the sky completely ignored their shock. Her eyes, which contained a lazy iciness, slowly swept her surroundings, as though she was a queen inspecting her subjects, appearing cold and mighty, but anyone who made contact with this pair of eyes, which contained a trace of laziness, would feel their hearts beat harder. Some of those mentally weak individuals revealed bright red faces as the Do Chi within their bodies became chaotic. The demonic beauty's eyes merely swept briefly over the area below. They shifted away without pausing. After which, she turned her head slightly and looked at an area a short distance behind her. A black-clothed young man was standing in the air. His face contained some gentle smile. A pair of dark black eyes were filled with joy. Her eyes paused on that young figure as the mouth on her bewitching face slowly lifted into an arc. She was like a blooming peony that was filled with great allure. Her beauty was soul-stirring. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 618. Chapter 1547. Unexpected Change. Xiao Yan's was a little absent-minded after seeing Kai Lin's dazzling smile. He immediately swung his head and recovered. He softly laughed. Have you completed your retreat? Kai Lin smiled. Her narrow pretty eyes slowly swept over Xiao Yan. Her narrow, crescent-like eyebrows were lifted. She asked, has your strength grown significantly again? I cannot compare with you. Xiao Yan spread his hands. His eyes were a little helpless as he looked at Kai Lin. From the way Kai Lin had appeared, it was obvious that her strength had soared to a relatively powerful level during this retreat. This had left him a little speechless. He had also headed to the bottom of the spring, but he had not found anything unusual about it. After Kai Lin had entered this so-called ordinary spring, she had ended up gaining a lot. This blessing really caused one to feel envious. Is that so? Kai Lin shifted her feet. She carried a tempting fragrance as she approached Xiao Yan. Her pretty eyes slightly flickered. Her long, delicate fingers suddenly pressed toward Xiao Yan with lightning-like speed. A nine-colored luster was vaguely present on the tip of her finger while a mysterious energy quietly spread from it. Xiao Yan involuntarily shook his head upon seeing her test his strength. A pink flame rose in front of him and Kai Lin's finger dangerously paused outside of the flame. She glanced at Xiao Yan and said in a regretful voice, I thought that I would have surpassed you after exiting my retreat. Even now, Kai Lin deeply remembered the feeling of being far stronger than Xiao Yan back then. However, her somewhat strong self was a little depressed that something like being stronger than Xiao Yan would likely never appear again. Xiao Yan was helpless. Kai Lin seemed to have once again become that Queen Medusa of the past, who was difficult to tame, after exiting this retreat. She was cold and enchanting. Additionally, she also possessed an even greater confidence. Alright, stop messing around. What level is your strength now? Xiao Yan bitterly laughed in his heart. He quickly became serious and asked after discovering that his spiritual perception was unable to detect Kai Lin's actual strength. Not because she had surpassed him, rather it was due to Kai Lin's aura being overly mysterious. It was impossible for him to gauge it. It should be around that of a 4-star Do Sheng. Kai Lin also smiled and replied honestly after seeing Xiao Yan become serious. Regardless of how powerful she was and how strong she acted in public, she still displayed a rare warmth and obedience in front of her man. That attack from earlier does not seem like something a 4-star Do Sheng can use. Xiao Yan slightly lifted an eyebrow. That shrinking snake net Kai Lin had unleashed earlier caused even someone as powerful as Huang Tian to have no choice but to temporarily take shelter. A mere 4-star Do Sheng was unable to do that. I borrowed an external strength. Kai Lin naturally did not hide anything from Xiao Yan. She took a step forward and became closer to Xiao Yan. After which, she lifted her hand. Her sleeve fell and revealed her jade-like wrist. There were many 7-colored snake symbols extending from her wrist up her arm. Only some snake symbols were present outside. They contained an unusual charm that tempted one into trying to probe deeper. A strange expression flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he studied her arm. His large hand grabbed Kai Lin's seemingly boneless wrist in front of many envious and fiery hot eyes. His finger gently rubbed the many 7-colored snake symbols. A grave and shocked expression surged into his eyes a moment later because he discovered that these snake symbols actually possessed their own life force. In other words, these snake symbols were not energy bodies. They were genuine 7-colored heaven-swallowing pythons. The bottom of the 9 serene spring hides the lair of a tribe of 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. I have obtained the inheritance of their ancestors. There are some ancestors among them with part of their souls still present despite their damaged physical bodies. I have awakened them, and they have attached to my body. I was only able to fight Huang Tian by borrowing their strength. Otherwise, if I merely relied on myself, it is likely that I would not have been able to defeat Huang Tian. Kai Lin softly explained. So this is the reason. Xiao Yan only came to a sudden understanding in his heart after hearing Kai Lin's brief explanation. Who would have imagined that the bottom of the Nine Serene Spring actually hide the remains of a lair belonging to the seven-colored heaven-swallowing python tribe? It was truly a lucky encounter for Kai Lin. This world was filled with all sorts of mysterious encounters. The reason he was able to obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame could be considered his own mysterious encounter. Will there be any problems? Xiao Yan's finger gently pressed down on a snake symbol on Kai Lin's arm as he inquired. Although these ancestors possess some soul fragments, they are not complete souls. From a certain point of view, they can all be controlled by me. Kai Lin's expression was a little dispirited as she replied. Xiao Yan relaxed only after hearing this. He comforted, "It's fine. If we have the opportunity in the future, we can try and see if we can repair their souls. However, the most important thing now is to resolve the trouble in front of us." Xiao Yan's eyes shifted to the mountain ruins as he spoke. A miserable figure had struggled into the air from that spot. That figure was Huang Tian, who had suffered a heavy blow from Kai Lin. Kai Lin by the side also slightly nodded. Her pretty eyes shifted to Huang Tian. The warm smile on her face had been wiped away. Her eyes had gained a cold glint as murderous intent surged within them. Cough. Huang Tian coughed intensely in front of the countless pairs of eyes. He wiped off the trace of blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes glanced at Xiao Yan and Kai Lin in the distance in a sinister manner. Panic flashed across his heart. He was still unafraid if Xiao Yan was alone, but another had appeared, who could seriously injure him. Even Huang Tian would feel a great pressure if these two cooperated. Had I known that Xiao Yan's woman was a nine-colored heaven-swallowing python, I would not have intervened. Damn it. Huang Tian's eyes flickered. His heart felt regretful. Originally, he thought that this matter would not be troublesome. Who would have expected such an expected change to suddenly occur? The entire sky was quiet while Huang Tian was silent. Those experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe exchanged glances with each other. None of them dared to speak. Even the almighty Huang Tian in their eyes had been beaten into such a miserable state. Their pride from earlier had already been scattered by Xiao Yan and Kai Lin's ferociousness. Ha ha, Chief Huang Tian, are you planning to continue on trying to capture your target? Xiao Yan glanced at Huang Tian, who had become quiet. Finally, he opened his mouth and broke the silence. Huang Tian's face twitched upon hearing this question. His expression was volatile as it continued to rapidly change. Finally, he said in a hoarse voice, "Xiao Yan, this king has lost this time around." An uproar was immediately stirred after Huang Tian's words escaped his mouth. No one had expected the tribal chief of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, who was renowned within the Beast region, to actually admit defeat. You don't really think that this matter can be put to rest just by admitting defeat, do you? Xiao Yan's voice contained some ridicule. However, both of his eyes contained a chill. If he had come a little later today, something might have gone wrong with Kai Lin's training. How would he face Xiao Xiao if anything happened? Shall we kill him? Kai Lin by the side inquired in a faint voice. A murderous intent was revealed in her tone. Huang Tian's expression was a little ugly after seeing that Xiao Yan did not stop coming after him. He coldly said, "Saying that I admit defeat does not mean that I am afraid of you. If we were to really engage in an all-out fight, I would still be able to pull one of you into death's embrace even if I cannot win." Xiao Yan shifted his eyes. The chill in his eyes did not diminish while a nine-colored luster surged onto the surface of Kai Lin's body by the side. Yao Ming in the distance widened his mouth upon seeing them prepare. However, he eventually stopped himself from speaking. From his point of view, it would not be beneficial if Xiao Yan really killed Huang Tian. At that time, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe would definitely seek a crazy vengeance. Faced with one of the three great tribes, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, even the Sky Mansion Alliance would end up with a great headache. If the Hall of Souls were to quietly intervene, it might end up causing a great disaster for the Sky Mansion Alliance, which could destroy it for good. Huang Tian's expression was a little gloomy, but his heart felt bitter. Given his current condition, he would most likely end up dead if he were to deal with Xiao Yan and Kai Lin together. Xiao Yan, this king will inform you of some news. Perhaps you will no longer be interested in remaining here after hearing it. Huang Tian's eyes flashed. He violently clenched his teeth as he spoke in a deep voice. "Oh, why don't you tell me and we'll see?" Xiao Yan lifted his brows and replied with a calm expression. "Aren't you wondering why this king has chosen to launch a campaign and attract you over from the Central Plains now instead of earlier or later?" Xiao Yan's expression slightly sank. His eyes locked onto Huang Tian as he demanded, "Why?" Huang Tian smiled upon seeing Xiao Yan's reaction. He suddenly asked, "It seems that your relationship with the new Dragon Emperor of the ancient Void Dragon tribe is quite good, right?" Xiao Yan's expression gradually became ugly. His heart began to feel an unease. His tone was dense as he said, "Do not try my limited patience. If I was you, I would immediately hurry to the empty realm now. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you will only be able to go and collect the corpse of the new Dragon Emperor." Huang Tian laughed. That young thing really doesn't know her limits. Does she really think that it is so easy to unite the ancient Void Dragon tribe? Xiao Yan's expression became completely gloomy. He suddenly lifted his palm. The dragon seal present on his palm had actually gradually dimmed at this moment. His limbs immediately became ice cold. "Let's go!" Xiao Yan struck his palm forward without explaining anything. He tore through empty space. Without saying anything more, he moved his body and swiftly entered. Kai Lin behind him frowned slightly before she hurriedly followed. "Huang Tian, I will remember this matter today. If anything happens to Zi Yan, I will get your entire Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe to repay with your lives." A cold smile had just appeared on Huang Tian's face as he watched Xiao Yan and Kai Lin hurriedly leaving when the dense voice that was emitted from the spatial crack froze his smile. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Continuing from the previous episode 619. Chapter 1548. Transforming Dragon Demon Formation. Yao Ming's group watched Xiao Yan and Kai Lin suddenly disappear through torn space from the underground network. Their faces were all stunned. They did not understand why the two of them would leave in such a hurry. The Empty Realm is the territory of the ancient Void Dragon tribe. From Brother Xiao Yan's anxiousness, can it be that some trouble has once again appeared with the ancient dragon tribe? Yao Ming was not a fool. He made a guess after thinking about it. However, he currently had a mess to deal with and was unable to leave. All he could do was pray that Xiao Yan and Kai Lin would be able to resolve the trouble this time around with their strength. HMPH, the both of you will fight until you end up seriously injured, which will end up benefiting my Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe in the future. Huang Tian in the sky looked at the spot where Xiao Yan and Kai Lin had disappeared. He coldly laughed in his heart. He quickly ceased remaining any longer. With a cold cry, he turned around and rushed into the distance. The other experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe hurriedly followed upon seeing him leave. They appeared a little dispirited. All of them were clearly aware that if Xiao Yan and Kai Lin had not suddenly left, it would likely not have been easy for them to withdraw without suffering any losses. The 9 Serene Deep Ground Python tribe did not stop the Heaven Demon Phoenix from withdrawing. They began to tidy up the mess of the battle while sighing in relief. The chaotic spatial flow within the empty realm was just like the large mouths of demons hidden in the darkness. They quietly appeared and forcefully shattered all the things they touched. Swoosh! 2 bright lights flashed by with great speed within the extremely quiet emptiness. The wild and violent airflow that the light stirred caused the interior of the empty realm to continuously rumble. Xiao Yan's expression was gloomy as he unleashed his speed to the limit. Ever since they had defeated the 3 great dragon kings the last time around, the situation of the ancient Void Dragon clan favored the Eastern Dragon Island. It had not been impossible for them to complete the unification. Of course, the 3 great dragon kings, who had fled, might pose an obstruction to the tribe, but they were clearly unable to cause much trouble with their strengths. This line of reasoning had always been present within Xiao Yan's heart. However, the situation that had occurred today made him realize that he had underestimated the complexity of the matter. The dragon seal is becoming weaker. Zi Yan seems to be in an extremely dire situation. Damn it, just what has happened to the ancient Void Dragon tribe? The direction the dragon seal is indicating is not the Eastern Dragon Island. It seems that Zi Yan is not on the Eastern Dragon Island. Xiao Yan tightly clenched his fist. He quickly suppressed the fury in his heart. The green-red bone wings on his back were flapped. His speed was increased once again as he wildly rushed in the direction indicated by the dragon seal. Kai Lin could only helplessly shake her head after seeing Xiao Yan speed off from behind. She did not say anything as she hurriedly followed. A blood light surged from a certain spot in the empty realm. The scent of blood could be clearly sniffed even 10,000 feet away. The source of the blood light was a large island floating in the empty realm. The island was filled with a scarlet color, as though the island had been dyed in blood, giving it a sinister appearance. Many figures were clustered together in the distant sky of the huge island, encircling this island and allowing nothing to pass. These people rev Alex's frightened and gloomy expressions. A fury surged within their eyes as they looked at the Dragon Island. Dragon Transforming Demon Formation. This bastard Northern Dragon King. The Dragon Transforming Demon Formation is a forbidden technique of our ancient dragon which had been destroyed thousands of years ago. How is it possible for him to use it? A white-haired elder in the sky above the island angrily roared. Those elders from the eastern Dragon Island by the side became quiet after hearing this. They had only heard rumors about this forbidden technique. The person who had managed this secret technique of the ancient dragon tribe was the Northern Dragon King's great-grandfather. The Dragon Transforming Demon Formation was also destroyed by him. However, no one can be certain if he had privately kept it. Elder Zhu Li hesitated and replied. The Dragon Transforming Demon Formation was a forbidden technique of the ancient Void Dragon tribe. This formation was created by an extraordinarily powerful expert from the tribe back then. Once this formation was formed, everyone inside, other than the person at the center of the formation, would be shattered into pools of blood. Finally, they would be devoured and absorbed by the center of the formation. Thus, the strength of that person would soar greatly, but this formation was far too bloody and cruel. Hence, it was classified as a forbidden technique and subsequently destroyed. No one had expected that this Northern Dragon King knew how to use it. Moreover, the thing that caused one's scalp to turn numb was that this lunatic had actually activated the formation across the entire Northern Dragon Island. It should be known that many experts from the 3 Dragon Islands had gathered here because of their alliance. Other than a small number of experts on the island, the majority had been turned into pools of blood and devoured by the Northern Dragon King at the center of the formation. After devouring so many tribe members, the strength of the Northern Dragon King had already reached a relatively frightening level. Ha ha, you naive and inexperienced girl, this king was originally planning on allowing you to live longer. Unexpectedly, you actually dared to lead an army in attack. It's just as well. This king has an insufficient number of sacrifices. If I devour you, my bloodline will definitely surpass all the ancestors of the ancient Void Dragon tribe. Haha, at that time, this king will be the strongest person in the history of the ancient Void Dragon tribe. The dense bloodlight contained a bloody scent as it surrounded the huge island. While Zhu Li and the rest did not dare step forward, that bloody light suddenly emitted a crazy laughter. A frightening energy ripple swept apart. The 2 human figures in an intense battle scattered the blood fog and appeared in front of many pairs of eyes. One of the 2 figures was Zi Yan, but that was not in a good state. Her face was pale and her aura was a little weary. The liquid-like dragon-slaying sword in her hand had once again been summoned, but the dragon-slaying sword did not appear to be as powerful as last time. A half-human-like figure was present in front of Zi Yan. His body was extremely strong. The muscles all over his body appeared as though they were alive as they continued to wiggle across his skin. Waves of blood flowed out of his pores while the flesh on his body wiggled. This caused him to appear like a blood person that looked ferocious and terrifying. There was a strangely large head on the blood person's shoulders. 3 faces were present on this head. Those 3 faces were the Western Dragon King, the Southern Dragon King, and the Northern Dragon King. 3 faces on a single head made one's stomach to churn. Clang clang, those monster-like 3 faces parted their mouths. Blood continuously flowed out of the corner of their mouths. Those 6 scarlet eyes were filled with a wild beast-like violence. Additionally, the hand of the monster held a huge sword formed by golden liquid. However, the golden color was mixed with a dense blood color. Waves of metallic sounds erupted when it collided with the dragon-slaying sword in Zi Yan's hand, but the monster did not fall into a disadvantage. Instead, the occasional stench forced Zi Yan into a dangerous situation. Northern Dragon King, you bastard! The Western and Southern Dragon Kings are your allies, yet you did not even let them off. You actually devoured their physical bodies and souls and have become such a monster. Ziyan's eyes contained a flame as they stared at the monster. Blood shoot from its body as she furiously cursed the Northern Dragon King. Tisk tisk. Those two pieces of trash had been seriously injured by you. They would have difficulty becoming great even if they fully recovered. It is better if they help me. Although I have eaten their flesh, this king has promised to help take revenge. The face of the Northern Dragon King on the monster's head strangely laughed. The huge sword in his hand furiously hacked at Ziyan with lightning-like speed. The frightening wind forced Ziyan to pull back in defeat. After swallowing the Western and Southern Dragon King, he had relied on the transforming dragon demon formation to absorb many experts on the island. The strength of the Northern Dragon King had already far surpassed Ziyan. If he was not a little afraid of the genuine dragon-slaying sword, Ziyan would have already died by the Northern Dragon King's hands. Ziyan clenched her silver teeth as she faced the crazy attack of the Northern Dragon King. She firmly endured. Due to the transforming dragon demon formation, the experts from the Eastern Dragon Island did not dare to step inside. Otherwise, they would turn into a pool of blood if they entered and end up continuously strengthening the Northern Dragon King. Northern Dragon King, sooner or later your reasoning will be eroded by the bloodlust and you will become a wild beast which only knows how to kill. Tisk tisk, it's fine if I become a wild beast. The ancient Void Dragon tribe can only be reunified by this king. The Dragon Emperor can only be me. The strange laughter of the Northern Dragon King suddenly halted. His palms suddenly grabbed at the ground below him. The three ancient Dragon tribe members on the ground with miserable expression were grabbed and lifted across space. After which, they were treated as weapons as they were ruthlessly thrown at Ziyan. Dragon Emperor, aren't you planning on rescuing people? Tisk tisk, this king shall let you rescue your fill. Ziyan clenched her silver teeth. She glanced at the people wrapped in the bloodlight as they were thrown over. She quickly flew up and her hands slammed into the trio with lightning-like speed. A golden light surged and the strange bloodlight scattered. Subsequently, a wave of hidden force delivered the three of them out of the transforming dragon demon formation. Tisk tisk. What a good Dragon Emperor. Even this king is a little unwilling. Ziyan had just delivered the three of them away when the blood glow flashed. The Northern Dragon King appeared in front of her in a ghost-like fashion. A savage expression surged onto his dense face. His large hands, which were covered in blood, were smashed toward Ziyan's shoulder with lightning-like speed. Grug. A terrifying force surged into her body from her shoulder. The bloody vapor, which was filled with a rotting stench, immediately caused an intense pain throb from Ziyan's body. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out as her delicate figure flew backwards in front of many anxious eyes. Everything is over. The ancient Void Dragon tribe belongs to me. The Northern Dragon King revealed a mad expression when he saw Ziyan's aura become completely sluggish. He let out a ferocious laugh as he strode forward. After which, he appeared in front of Ziyan. His large hand subsequently grabbed her head. The experts from the Eastern Dragon Island outside the blood formation were extremely shocked after seeing Ziyan be picked up by her head. Their eyes reddened. Haha, the Northern Dragon King let out a strange laugh. However, the speed of his hand was not reduced. A pink flame suddenly rose from Ziyan's head just as his hand was about to land on her head. The terrifyingly high temperature caused the hand of the Northern Dragon King to halt. It froze in the air as his expression slowly turned gloomy. He slowly lifted his head and stared at the empty realm in front of him. His dense voice reverberated into the empty realm. Xiaoyan, show yourself. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 620. Chapter 1549, Extermination Fire Bod. The furious cry of the Northern Dragon King resounded within this blood formation in a rumbling fashion. Finally, it spread into the distance. Puff! The pink flame, which appeared above Ziyan's head, swiftly spread after the Northern Dragon King's cry sounded. It transformed into a fire barrier that firmly wrapped around Ziyan. The blood fog spreading around her would emit a hissing sound and disappear upon contact with the fire barrier. Northern Dragon King, you are indeed the person causing trouble. The space beside Ziyan fluctuated after the fire barrier materialized. Immediately, two figures slowly appeared. These figures were Xiaoyan and Kai Lin, who had hurried over at full speed. It's Xiaoyan. Xiao Yan's and Kai Lin's sudden appearance caught the attention of those members from the eastern Dragon Island outside of the formation. Many joyous cries quickly sounded. Soon after, some elders once again became grave. Although they were aware that Xiao Yan was also an elite Dou Sheng after their last meeting, the current situation was such that even an ordinary Dou Sheng would end up dying. The hearts of many sank slightly upon thinking of death. Tisk tisk, that fellow Huang Tian is really useless. He has only managed to delay you for such a short amount of time. The scarlet eyes of the Northern Dragon King glared at Xiao Yan while everyone was quiet. He licked the blood off the corner of his mouth as he continued with a dense smile. However, it is fine. The situation has already been decided. You coming here is merely offering me a sacrifice. Xiao Yan's expression was calm. He glanced at the Northern Dragon King and paused on the three strange faces. Given his spiritual perception, he could guess why this person's strength had increased with just a glance. He slightly frowned. This person was actually this vicious. Cough. Ziyan by the side suddenly coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood while Xiao Yan knit his brows. Her face was as pale as sheet. Blood swiftly spread from his shoulder and eroded her body. Although the Dragon Phoenix constitution was doing its best to endure, the waves of intense pain still caused Ziyan's expression grow paler. Tisk tisk, even though you possess the Dragon Phoenix constitution, even you will feel terrible after being struck by the transforming dragon demon formation. The Northern Dragon King let out a wild laugh at the sky after seeing the Ziyan's weakened state. He had almost transformed the entire population of the Northern Dragon Island into blood. It was only possible to turn the tables by paying such a frightening price. His heart was naturally incomparably happy after forcing Ziyan into such a miserable state. Why are the both of you here? Ziyan wiped the trace of blood off the corner of her mouth. Her pale face gave one a heartache. Her somewhat dim eyes glanced at Xiao Yan and Kai Lim as she bitterly said, "The matter this time around will not be as easily resolved as last time. This fellow has devoured the Western and Southern King as well as the flesh of many tribe members. He has vaguely reached the 6th star of the Dou Sheng class." A 6-star Dou Sheng. Although Ziyan's strength had risen quickly during these 2 years, she had yet to break through to the 5th star of the Dou Sheng class. With her strength, she was unable to defeat the Northern Dragon King even with her Dragon Phoenix constitution. The gap between the 2 stars was really far too great. Xiao Yan smiled at her but did not reply. His hand was gently placed on Ziyan's shoulder, the one that radiated a bloody air from it. A faint pink flame was partially visible. He, attempting to expel the transforming dragon blood chi. Do you think? The Northern Dragon King coldly laughed upon seeing Xiao Yan's actions. However, his laughter had barely sounded when he was stunned to find tendrils of the blood chi swiftly rising from Ziyan's shoulder. Finally, they vanished into nothing. Heavenly flame? A shocked expression immediately flashed across the Northern Dragon King's eyes upon seeing these tendrils disappear. Only at this moment did he discover that the heavenly flame in Xiao Yan's hand appeared a little different from what he had seen back then. Xiao Yan ignored the Northern Dragon King. He controlled the purifying demonic lotus flame and circulated it once around Ziyan's body. All of the transforming dragon blood chi within her body was swallowed and vaporized. Only then did he slowly withdraw his palm. Ziyan's face recovered a little color after the transforming dragon blood chi within her body was scattered, but she still appeared extremely weak. Moreover, her body had slowly shrank in front of Xiao Yan's and Kai Lin's stunned eyes. Within a short moment, she had returned to that little girl appearance from back then. I'm too weak. I can only recover in a form that saves the most amount of energy. Ziyan bitterly laughed and softly explained. Ha ha, this appearance is much cuter. Xiao Yan rubbed Ziyan's small head and laughed. Both Kai Lin and you should return. Leave this to me. Ziyan was slightly startled after hearing his words. She gently clenched her teeth and said, he is very powerful. I have never tried biting off more than I can chew. Xiao Yan laughed and replied. Ziyan suddenly sensed that Xiao Yan's strength had once again surpassed her after taking in his smiling face. A joy quickly rose on her small face. Do you need any help? Kai Lin softly asked by the side. If that transformed Northern Dragon King really possessed a strength similar to a 6-star Dou Sheng, just Xiao Yan alone. Worry flashed through her eyes while she thought to herself. He has yet to truly reach the 6th star of the Dou Sheng class. It is not impossible to beat him. Currently, there are still many members of the ancient Void Dragon tribe within this formation. You should intervene and rescue them while I hold him back. Otherwise, he will be able to devour the blood and do-chi of these people as he wishes. Then, his fighting strength will maintain its peak. Xiao Yan shook his head slightly while appearing quite calm. Kai Lin was unable to say anything after hearing Xiao Yan's words. She immediately nodded, grabbed Zi Yan, and moved her body, flying out of the range of the blood formation in the process. They appeared in front of those elders from the Eastern Dragon Island. The elders hurriedly swarmed over upon seeing them leave the formation. Their faces were extremely anxious. If anything happened to Zi Yan, the ancient Void Dragon tribe would never unite again. The Northern Dragon King did not intervene to stop Kai Lin and Zi Yan from departing. From the way he saw it, the lives of those two had merely been extended. Once he finished Xiao Yan off, he would devour everyone present. A savage smile rose on the face of the Northern Dragon King after he thought about the joy from the soaring of his strength. Your blood and flesh has a strange scent to it. It is similar to that of the dragon phoenix, but it appears even more delicious. The Northern Dragon King's scarlet tongue was extended. He licked the blood on his face. A special excitement quickly rose within his eyes. He made a strange statement as he stared at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan shifted his eyes. He was naturally aware of what the Northern Dragon King was saying. There were a total of 3 types of bloodline strengths within his body. This delicious taste should originate from them. However, Xiao Yan did not reply to the perverted desire of the Northern Dragon King. He lifted his hand, and a pink flame slowly spread from his body. The frighteningly high temperature vaporized the surrounding bloody do-chi that was eroding him. The scarlet eyes of the Northern Dragon King focused when the extremely troublesome transforming dragon blood do-chi was unable to even approach Xiao Yan's body. Although his murderous desire had surged after devouring many people, he possessed a ruthless and cautious nature to begin with. Hence, he remained alert even at this moment. Your body possesses the Dragon Phoenix bloodline. Coincidentally, you can have a taste of the dragon-slaying sword. The eyes of the Northern Dragon King flickered as he took a step forward. His body appeared a short distance in front of Xiao Yan with lightning-like speed. The huge blood-red sword in the Northern Dragon King's hand released a bloody stench that pounced into Xiao Yan's nose as it ruthlessly hacked toward his head. Yellow spring palm. Xiao Yan's body withdrew. He randomly threw out a yellow spring palm in the process, and the huge energy palm whistled forward. Kai, this is nothing. The Northern Dragon King laughed upon seeing this attack. The huge sword containing a bloody do-chi in his hand slashed down and hacked the energy palm into 2. After which, the body of the sword was swung. It unleashed 3 huge sword glows with lightning-like speed. They struck Xiao Yan like thunderbolts. The green-red bone wings on Xiao Yan's back were flapped to deal with the Northern Dragon King's sharp attack, narrowly dodging them. Before he could stabilize his body, the Northern Dragon King had once again ferociously pounced over. The attacks arrived one after another without giving him any time to catch his breath. The elders from the Eastern Dragon Island outside of the formation felt a little anxious in their hearts after seeing Xiao Yan fall into a disadvantage. If Xiao Yan were to be defeated, the Eastern Dragon Island would really suffer a great defeat. At that time, the crazy Northern Dragon King would attack again. The entire ancient Void Dragon tribe would likely be finished. Bang! Xiao Yan violently collided head-on with the Northern Dragon King amid these many anxious pairs of eyes. The blood within his body churned as he staggered dozens of steps back. He is indeed barely able to reach the 6th star of the Do Sheng class. A grave expression flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he suppressed the somewhat churning blood within his body. He was unable to obtain a great result with ordinary do-chi while fighting opponent with such strength. I can try that technique. Xiao Yan's eyes slightly flickered. He quickly withdrew the aura all around his body. Both of his hands rapidly formed many extremely foreign seals. Little Yi within his body suddenly opened his eyes after Xiao Yan's hands began to move. His body quickly rose and paused between Xiao Yan's brows. The small hands of Little Yi formed the same seals as Xiao Yan at this moment. Xiao Yan, it is really wishful thinking by attempting to defeat this king with your strength. The Northern Dragon King coldly laughed as he watched Xiao Yan form the hand seals. He did not give Xiao Yan any time as the huge sword in his hand mercilessly slashed toward Xiao Yan's head while being accompanied by a sharp wind. Man and flame merger. Extermination Fire Bod. Why? The tiny fire lotus in Xiaoyan's eyes had begun to wildly rotate after Xiaoyan and Little Yi's hand seals stilled at the same time. A extermination-like monstrous aura, which caused everyone's expression to pale, suddenly swept from Xiaoyan's body like a storm. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 621. Chapter 1550. Crazy Northern Dragon King. Boom! After that extermination-like aura swept out of Xiaoyan's body, his body lit on fire at this moment. Pink flames covered every part of his body. His skin, muscles, bones, cells. Every part of Xiaoyan's body was filled by a pink flame at this moment. Chi! The pink flames fiercely burned. While the flames wildly spread, his body became crystal clear. It was even possible to see his internal organs through the flames. These internal organs were covered by a pink crystal layer at this moment. The green-red wings on Xiaoyan's back slowly morphed. Finally, they turned into a pair of huge pink wings. Looking from a distance, it was as though they had been made by transparent glass, appearing exceptionally mysterious. The Extermination Fire Body was a method of unleashing the energy of the heavenly flame to its limit by merging it with one's physical body. This required almost perfect control of the heavenly flame because the heavenly flames were far too ferocious. Even though it had already been refined, the inside of a human's body was still too weak. No one dared to easily use the heavenly flame to alter one's constitution. Even Xiaoyan did not dare to do so, but after Little Yi appeared, this kind of hidden danger completely vanished. Little Yi and Xiaoyan were mentally connected. They were just like one. Little Yi was the spirit of a heavenly flame. No one in the world could compare with him in terms of controlling a heavenly flame. The harsh conditions required to form the exterminating fire body could also be met by him. This was the first time Xiaoyan had used this skill after leaving the demonic flame realm, but he was confident in the might of the extermination fire body. From a certain point of view, this kind of extermination fire body was just transforming oneself into a movable extermination fire lotus, allowing his attacks to be as terrifying as the fire lotus. However, the only disadvantage was that the Do Chi one required to use the extermination fire body was far too frightening. Even with Xiaoyan's current strength, it was likely that he would not be able to use it for more than a minute. 1 minute would pass in the blink of an eye. However, this 1 minute could decide the victor in a fight when it came to genuine experts. The extermination aura that suddenly rippled out of the formation was detected by many members of the ancient dragon tribe outside. Immediately, many surprised gazes were thrown at Xiaoyan. What a frightening aura! In less than 3 years, his strength has actually progressed to such a level. Elder Zhu Li looked at Xiaoyan with an envious face. When he had first met Xiaoyan, he had still surpassed Xiaoyan slightly. Now, however, he had been tossed into some unknown corner. It looks like our ancient void dragon tribe will be saved. The other elders also revealed joyous faces. Originally, they thought that it was impossible to stop the crazy northern dragon king even with Xiaoyan's appearance. However, Xiaoyan caused them to rejoice. Ziyan, who had been observing the situation in front of everyone, revealed joy in her eyes. The aura that had suddenly erupted from Xiaoyan caused her to feel reassured. Kai, someone who only knows how to put up a mystifying act. No one can change your fate today. The Northern Dragon King narrowed his scarlet eyes as Xiaoyan transformed. He let out a laugh. Although he spoke in a condescending manner, the caution in his heart greatly soared. The current Xiaoyan already made him feel some danger. He would have to pay an extremely miserable price if he was careless. His blood-colored hand quickly formed a seal as he cried out, "Blood Dragon, devour the sky." Roar! The huge blood formation suddenly churned after the Northern Dragon King's cry sounded. An immeasurable amount of bloody Do Chi gathered in the air above the Northern Dragon King. It vaguely formed a savage blood dragon that was larger than the entire Dragon Island. A voice filled with a violent and murderous desire slowly rang out. Bang bang! Many ancient dragon figures exploded within the Dragon Island after the bloody Do Chi gathered. They turned into blood fog that was absorbed into the blood dragon, causing its body to grow a brighter red. On the other side of the blood formation, Kai Lin continued to rapidly throw members of the ancient dragon tribe out of the blood formation. Even though she was quick, many still exploded into a bloody mist. She knit her delicate brows and waved her hand. 10 7-colored lights erupted from her. The rate she was rescuing those individuals soared. Tisk tisk, the transforming dragon demon formation can be considered the ultimate skill of my ancient dragon tribe. Those pieces of trash actually thought of destroying it? They were really extremely foolish. The madness on the face of the Northern Dragon King became even denser as he stared at the incomparably large blood dragon in the sky. He glanced at Xiao Yan a short distance in front of him. His body rose and finally turned into a blood glow that charged into the huge mouth of the blood dragon. After the Northern Dragon King charged into the blood dragon's body, the luster radiating from all parts of the blood dragon gathered on him. A dim blood light lingered around the surface of his body. Those huge dragon scales flicked with a chilling luster, giving them a lifelike appearance. Roar! The blood dragon's huge eyes contained an endless bloody aura as they focused on Xiao Yan in an icy and merciless fashion. The incomparably large body trembled as it opened its ferocious large mouth. A 10,000-foot large blood glow that contained a bloody aura, which caused one's expression to change, rushed toward Xiao Yan like a furious dragon. Be careful, the blood light shot out as Zi Yan warned Xiao Yan. She could sense a frightening force in the blood light. If someone were struck by it, even an elite 5-star Do Sheng would likely suffer a serious injury. Ha ha, Xiao Yan, since you have delivered yourself to me, I shall help take your life. The Northern Dragon King's proud roar reverberated across the empty realm as he watched the bloodlight penetrate the void. Xiao Yan's eyes were slowly opened as he faced the Northern Dragon King's roar. Both of his black eyes became crystal clear, but the fire lotus within his body rotated in a terrifying way. Such strength! Xiao Yan lowered his head and swiftly observed his current situation. His pink glass-like face revealed his intoxication. He was currently the purifying demonic lotus flame. If he possessed sufficient Do Qi, Xiao Yan could even unleash the destructive might of the purifying demonic lotus flame. He could burn mountains and boil the sea by just raising his hand. There was no limit to this heavenly flame. Both man and flame had completely merged together. The only person across the entire Do Qi continent who could reach this level was just Xiao Yan. An incomparably searing hot aura was slowly spat from Xiao Yan's mouth. He lifted his head and glanced at the bloodlight rapidly magnifying in his eyes. The corners of his mouth were curled. However, he did not prepare any defenses. The fire wings on his back were gently flapped. After which, he turned into a fire meteorite in front of many shocked eyes. He collided head-on with the bloodlight. Kai! They collided at that moment, but everyone's eyes shrunk as the bloody light, which was filled with a frightening bloody energy that could easily defeat a 5-star Do Sheng, quickly dimmed upon contact. Everyone's eyes watched as the light that had penetrated through the void swiftly weakened the moment of the collision. Moreover, it started to slowly deform as it weakened at a shocking speed. A falling star-like figure flashed with lightning-like speed at the same time. The bloodlight collapsed with just a touch when the two made contact. Moreover, it had collapsed without any resistance. Bang! The bloodlight finally became illusory in front of the eyes of the blood dragon, which was filled with disbelief. The firelight figure continued to fly over like a falling star. It was swiftly magnified in his eyes. This king will not fail. Up against Xiao Yan's wild and violent attack, a crazy expression began to surge within the eyes of the blood dragon that the Northern Dragon King had merged with. He was all alone already. If he were to lose, he would no longer find an opportunity to turn things around. Roar! A glaring bloodlight crazily erupted from the blood dragon's enormous body. It gathered within its large ferocious mouth at a shocking speed. Finally, it turned into a dark 5-foot large bead condensed from blood. The surface of the bloody bead was covered in lines that appeared like blood vessels. An incomparably bloody scent spread through the empty realm. Swoosh! The blood bead had just appeared when the craziness within the Northern Dragon King's eyes surged. He ruthlessly shot the bead at Xiao Yan in front of him. The blood dragon immediately began to crumble after the blood bead shot away, as though all of its energy had left with the blood bead. Dragon Soul Bead, this bastard didn't even let off the souls of the tribe members. The eyes of those ancient void dragons outside of the blood formation quickly turned a bloody red after catching sight of the blood-colored bead. The Northern Dragon King had not only devoured the flesh of many from the tribe, he had also not let off their souls. Zi Yan's delicate figure trembled. The murderous desire within her eyes was extremely dense. The Northern Dragon King did not care about the fury of the others. His scarlet eyes continued to stare at Xiao Yan, who flying over. Xiao Yan then collided with the blood bead. A cruel and savage smile was immediately lifted on his face. Xiao Yan, go and die. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.